Dr. Richard.
Well, just to follow up as well, the fact that two large educational units can coincide is one thing, but then to actually find that network that we can provide a support for these students. Certainly as a board, we've been talking about values for our strategic plan, and one of them is that choice and option. And this is really a unique choice and a really special option that'll be good for a number of kids. We hope about 500 of them, right? But, and the Memorandum of Understanding, a lot of great work together on that, working together jointly to develop the professional development piece, that there will be food service there. While transportation isn't provided, that if it is in the future, you'll work together on that. And certainly we've got the bus system, and that's an exciting piece that does make it accessible, not just an option, but an accessible option for students. Within the duties and obligations, number 14 said tuition and fees. The tuition and fees charged by Ames Community College for students enrolled in ECA, now we'll call it, will be as follows. Students will be charged a flat rate of $100 per credit while they're considered an early college academy student. This flat rate will include all books, fees, course materials, and support services provided by the college. Will you talk about that a little bit more?
That is a cost that the district will pay, not the student. And so that is, it's per student, and it is a $100 fee that the district will pay directly to Ames. And it includes all of those pieces.
Okay, so parents will know that.
Yes,
going
they
into
will.
That.
When you read that out loud, yes, correct.
Okay.
But you said the district will bear the cost.
It is not. It's a per student fee, but it is a district fee that we pay per student. The district pays it for each student, yes.
Okay.
Per credit hour.
Correct.
Per credit.
Yeah. So at the outset of any program, there's always that initial investment. We are on both sides making that investment in technology, and thank you, because you're making a really significant investment in technology, and we appreciate that. When this gets down the road and things have stabilized, what kind of cost will there be to District 6 side of things? Is this pretty much a cost neutral sort of thing, or with any of our pathways, there are additional costs to having a pathway. So what do you anticipate the additional costs being?
Do you want to take that or want to?
Sure. So most of our research has indicated that in the long run, this will be cost neutral, especially with the relationship that we have with Ames. The intention of the building, the facility, is that we would rent it for a very low cost in perpetuity. And that right there is a significant cost savings over running a traditional program at a traditional school. So we believe that it will be cost neutral, or even it may end up being in the long run slightly less expensive on a per student basis to run in the long term.
Well, good news all the way around for our
Thank
students.
you.
Thanks.
Mr. Hall.
I just want to mention one other thing. The busing was brought up. We were in a meeting. Rhonda was with me last week, Greeley ACE meeting. And the city is remapping the bus. So one of the things that we brought up that would be critical is so that we can tie these students back to their extracurriculars of their home high school. So, and they're aware of it, and they're going to work with you, and I'm sure you're aware of it too. But I think that's an important. I mean, that's critical in my mind. That's the other side of the experience that we can't afford to lose. So,
I would agree, 100%.
Mr. Richardson.
Well, again, thank you very much. I know it's been a great collaboration. I won't go. We've said thank you anyway. But I do have a question. I've heard from a number of parents that I've talked about the early college academy. Some questions around, that a lot of students want their traditional high school atmosphere and be able to play sports. Will you address kind of some of those options that, if I'm a student at the early college academy, where will I play my athletic events, and where will I be involved in the extracurriculars? That, how do all those shake out for a student? I know there's probably some people listening that would be curious.
Right, and those are all things that is a very common question actually that parents ask. And we want to assure all of our parents that all of those, you're absolutely right, those extracurricular opportunities that students engage in their high school years is equally really important to that high school student. and to their experience. And we're not going to take that opportunity away from them by them choosing to be a part of the Early College Academy. In fact, they will be able to be a part of their homeschool, boundaried school sports activities, just like they would be if they were at that school. So we will continue to, work out details, because each of those students are going to be a little different in what they decide to be a part of and those kinds of things. And that's probably more around in the sports arena, a few of those kinds of things. There will also be opportunities within Early College Academy where students will be able to participate right there in a high school experience of clubs and things like that, that they get started as well. And a lot of that will really depend on the students and their interests and where they want to form some different clubs and activities and things right there. But when you're talking sporting activities, those kinds of things, those extracurricular sports, they will go to their home high school and participate just like any other students. So very much open, the opportunity, that door is completely open. So.
Well, thank you very much. And again, thank you to both parties for being such great partners.
And if you could stand it a little longer, Mr. Umbo, we do have one other person to say thank you. But I also wanted to point out how dizzying it was in the early days, sitting around thinking of what kind of animal is this?
Right.
It's not just a high school, and it's not really right away, it's not a college, it's everything at once. And how do who teaches this? And what do we include in this? And what programs might be involved? And to see it have the same promise as that 95% success rate for our folks in dual enrollment in the same building. So there's no loss here. And so once again, many kudos and thanks and welcome. And keep us involved, please. I believe it might be time for a roll call. Ms. Richards?
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Hagley?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydia?
Aye.
Dr.
Richard?
Aye.
Mr. Richardson?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Mr. Eads, you have been involved in this along the way as well. Thank you very much.
I have. In fact, this afternoon I went through my desktop and took all of the redlined versions that have been accumulating there since last March, I think, and put them in the trash because we only need the final. And thank you for approving them. I had quite a collection of earlier versions. And I have one more.
Mr. Eads.
I would like to request to be excused for the rest of the meeting.
Indeed, and thank you very much. And we will talk again this week.
Thank you.
Much more work to do. The next item is the Superintendent Search Interview Committee member announcement, and that's my job. And I have just a short list of individuals that I would like to identify as being members of the community of Greeley and Evans who communicated their interest by applying to be on one of 3 interview committees that the community will put together for the purposes of interviewing finalists for the superintendent position. I always read everything with a German accent, so I will apologize now to everyone who is getting this information. From more than 50 applicants, we have had to cook down the list a little bit and select some individuals from a variety of areas in the community, activities, and I will also identify that this list will be made available throughout the media, and the individuals who applied and we were unable to find a seat for them will receive our thanks and our invitation to participate as observers in upcoming interviews on the 21st of this month. And we will also be sending out a note confirming by email the individuals who we would like to have serve in this capacity. These individuals are acknowledging that this is a big task, an important one, and that they are willing to give a considerable amount of time to be involved in not only the interview process, but also the training, a 2-hour training session prior to this event. So I will read the names of the interview committee members como rapido. Adolfo Diaz, Amy Oliver Cook, Angela Cedillos, Asad Abdi, Barbara Slobodjan, Bonnie Dean, Bruce Rowe, Carrie Smith, Cheryl Blevins, Colette West, Dr. Barbara Winery, Dr. Blakely Wallace, Dr. Janet Alcorn, Dr. Jean Morrell, Dr. Marcy Liddell, Ingrid Dillahay, Janine Reed, Jay Henricks, Jesse Tijerina, Jessica Marshall, Juan Lopez, Judy Knapp, never know, Julie Wilford, Ken Schultz, Lisa Krieger-Mart, Mike Guile, Patty Gates, Renee Gonzalez, Robert Perrick, Roy Otto, Sandy Elder, Steve Birch, Steve LaForest, Suzette Luster, Ray Romero, Bob Murphy, Richard Wood, Pat Otto, Gilbert Arizmendi, Todd Sundin, and I also want to recognize that we have an unnamed individual from the Evans city manager or city council that will also play a role in this as a committee member. So we don't have time to thank every one of these, but we do thank every one of these individuals, and I appreciate the board and their effort to identify these folks. The next item is an action item, and it is the superintendent finalists announcement. I'm sorry? It was a public information item.
Okay.
Okay. So the next item is an action item, however, and I will accept a motion from a member of the board to propose finalists for the superintendent position at this time.
Mr. DeWitt, I move that the following individuals be named as finalists for the Superintendent of Weld County School District 6. Mr. John Borman, Mr. Wayne Eads, Dr. Deirdre Pilch.
Is there a second?
Second.
Board members, are there comments that you'd like to share at this time? Ms. Solis?
I would just like to thank all the board members of really taking seriously the community input as far as what they are looking for in a superintendent and taking those considerations in choosing finalists. Thank you for that.
Mr. Heath?
I'd like to thank all the stakeholders who have felt as though they haven't been listened to, and I think that the board and CASB has done an outstanding job of listening, and I want to compliment all the other board members. I thought that we worked well and in a very positive manner today, and it was a very challenging decision, but I thought that as a group that I was very proud of how we conducted ourselves and the decisions that we made.
Mr. Hall? No, I'm sorry, Dr. Richards?
He's deferring to me. Okay. I think perhaps just a brief review of how we got to this point. That in early fall we took the time to investigate and select a search firm that led us through developing a process for carrying out the search. It was a nationwide search, and we did have applicants from across the United States as well as local applicants. Mid-year, we held numerous focus groups with community members, representatives from charter schools, representatives from District 6 personnel, and through that we were able to gather the desired characteristics that people wanted to see in our next superintendent. And it was really that list of criteria that we used as a board to identify these three candidates or these three finalists for superintendent.
Thank you. Mr. Hall?
I just want to thank the community members that all applied for the interviewing positions. As I think is apparent, this board has made an effort for complete transparency and community relations to bridge the gap. And I think we see that number of community applicants as the result of some of that work. So I thank each of my colleagues on the board. And I'd like to echo what John said in that it was a challenging discussion, but we worked through it as you would expect us to. And so that makes me even prouder of my colleagues. Looking forward to moving on, and again, thanks to the community.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Final comment, if I have one on this at this time, is that we're looking at the permanent boss of employees of the school district. This is no small step, and we're still going to be reliant on those members identified earlier to ask questions of these individuals in the interview teams. The board will serve as an interview team as well. Among other things, we're looking at appreciation of values of diversity, demonstration of successful leadership experience, innovative thinking, someone who's politically and financially astute to keep a swim in all of the state activities associated with education. I believe that the individuals that we have identified bring all of those and more to this potential position. And I certainly want to have everyone look forward to this and participate because it's an exciting event. It's been moved and seconded, and there's been some discussion. Any further discussion? Ms. Richards, do you mind roll call, please?
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Hafley?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mr. Richardson?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. The last item is the HUMANeX Ventures Superintendent Candidates Assessment Tool, and in effect, we're willing to accept a motion at this time associated with the use of the HUMANeX Ventures Assessment Tool as of this action. Someone willing to give a motion?
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 approve the use of the HUMANeX Ventures Leadership Assessment Tool during the superintendent selection process.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the use of the HUMANeX Ventures Leadership Assessment Tool. Is there a discussion? Mr. Richardson.
I guess I could have said disapprove. I think that, so the timing was just unfortunate to be able to really implement the tool. I think that as we learn more about it, that it would have been a very helpful tool, and we understand that the city's used it and has had great success in it. I think that it was unfortunate that we weren't able to come to an understanding of its usefulness at an earlier time to make it applicable to our use. But time granted, I think I would have been for it, but I don't think I'll be able to do it under the current circumstance because of the lack of ability to implement it properly.
Ms. Solis? No, forgive me. Mr. Hafley?
At this point, I agree. I think that it's a very positive tool that we need to incorporate in our district. And I don't think that we did the appropriate amount of research and gave ourselves enough lead time. And I'll blame myself for that. I think that we could have done a better job. I think that it's something that we need to introduce in our HR department, and I think that will assist us in the future. And I'm sorry that we're going to be unable to use it or shouldn't use it for this set of interviews.
Any other comments from the board? I'm in total agreement that an assessment tool to identify key leadership abilities in members of the community, particularly our primary leader, would have been helpful. My concern is, again, our timeline and some considerations of the best way to employ this assessment simply was out of our reach at this time. Mr. Hall.
And I would echo that we just ran out of time for the entire board to be comfortable with it. But I would say this and echo this other statement too, that in today's environment as we move forward, there are tools available for personnel selection and for personnel development from within. Similar to the HUMANeX tool, there's several others. UNC uses one to choose their leadership and to help with their culture in their organization so that they can have a little better assessment and change that culture and move it in the way that they want to do, to where everybody's happy and everyone's reaching their full potential and the organization prospers. So as we move forward, it's my hope that we will implement this as a positive tool from an HR perspective for selection, for development, and for reaching everyone's goals of that culture establishment for D6 to be the district where everybody wants to be.
Thank you, Mr. Hall.
Thank you.
Ms. Lees?
I'm really disappointed that we're not going to be able to use HUMANeX in this process. I believe that this is a movement. It's a community movement. It's not a District 6 movement. We are moving in a direction that has allowed us to do a lot of the things that we talked about tonight. It has broken down barriers of different institutions, and we have gotten to a conversation that these are our kiddos. It is all of our responsibility, and HUMANeX has played a huge part in that. So I am disappointed that it's not part of it now, but I see it in the future. Again, this is a moving community in one direction. We're all moving together, and so we all need to be part of this conversation and speak in the same language. And we even have our youth involved now with the youth leadership thing that we do after the group that went to Kalamazoo. And it's unfortunate that not everyone was able to go to Kalamazoo, because that trip was just absolutely amazing. And maybe had all of us board members been able to attend, we could have had a different decision tonight. But I do want to thank everyone for being open to the conversation, learning more about it, and hopefully you'll see this in the future in District 6.
Well, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, Ms. Richards?
Mr. DeWitt,
No.
Mr. Hafley,
No.
Mr. Hall,
Nay.
Mr. Lydiak,
No.
Dr. Richard,
No.
Mr. Richardson,
No.
Mrs. Solis.
No.
Motion fails 7-0.
Thank you very much. This concludes this evening's board meeting. We thank you very much for your participation. Look forward to seeing you again. Good night.
And I do blame you, John.